Hello, welcome to episode number 23 of the New Media Tech Show. Wow, can't even talk. So we weren't on last week. Last week was a holiday in the United States, and we decided to take that Monday off. But this is Monday the 9th of September, and we are recording New Media Tech. It's 8 p.m. on the East Coast, and we record this show live every week. You can follow us on Twitter at TechZenTV. That is the Twitter name that we use. You can also get all the show notes for all the shows that we do at newmediatech.tv, or you can also go to tech-zen.tv. New Media Tech TV takes you right to the right place on the website. That's the shortcut. And also, you can view all of our videos on youtube.com/techzentv. The New Media Tech Show is a show that is focused on new media. So what is new media? New media is podcasting. Some people call it podcasting. Some people call it netcasting. Some call it internet broadcasting. I like to call it actually all of them. We are internet broadcasting right now because we are live. We are broadcasting on 4 different networks across the internet, and we're recording this. And when we're done recording, we're going to stick it up into a podcast. So you can get it on a podcast. It's a video podcast. So what you call it, internet broadcasting or netcasting, I think they're basically the same thing. And then you have podcasting, which is basically an after the fact. Plus, we also put our content on YouTube. So you can get us 3 different ways. If you're getting us not live, it's 2 ways. You can download us to a podcast anywhere like Podcatcher on your Android device, or iTunes if you're an Apple person. So you can get us, pretty much everywhere. And we also are playing with Daily Motion. So we're not committing to 100% Daily Motion yet, but we are putting our things on Daily Motion. So the last few weeks we've been doing this show. It's been a little bit scattered because we've been changing some things. In fact, if you look around me and you watch the show before, you see some things have changed in the studio. We're almost there. We're not quite there. There are still a few things I see that I need to change, and we're trying to get a few other things adjusted as well. You also notice there's a lot more monitors. I mean, these aren't for this show. The show right after this one, Let's Make It, we have 2 guests on tonight. So I actually have 2 screens, one for each of them set up. I'm a little crowded because I got this screen, and then I have my computer right here, and then I have my iPad right here for audio control. And then over here I have the chat room because I'm using the monitor up there for the chat room. Something else this week. So I have monitors everywhere. I'm a little crowded. Plus, on top of all that, I'm actually have an extra control surface. Now, I mentioned in the past that I've been making a control surface. This right now is set up in ATEM mode. So it's kind of hard to pick up and show you because it's very fragile because the plugs are temporary. In fact, I already found one wire that was loose before the show started. I had to reboot everything. So, but I basically also have 2 control surfaces here. So it's taking up a lot of space in front of me. I have part of the old control surface is sitting over there because I'm not using it, but the backup to this actual switching stuff is right here in front of me in case I actually need to use it. So far, so good. I haven't had to fall back to that one yet. So there's a lot of things happening this week, and I think a lot of it is because there's a show coming up called IBC. It's the International Broadcasting Convention, and it's actually being held in, let me see where it's being held. It actually starts it's in Amsterdam, and it starts on the 12th. They have them in different places throughout the year. I believe there's 2 of them a year, and this particular one is in Amsterdam, and this is where all the big vendors come. And this is a very big turnout for people in Europe that are doing new media broadcasting, not just new media, but real broadcasting, like over-the-air broadcasting, cable TV networks, all different kinds are there. And they call this the Inspirational Global Meeting. So I've never been to one of the IBCs. I'd like to go to an IBC at some point. I just haven't never had a chance to get to one. So that starts up, and according to the timer on their website, it's 2 days, 7 hours, and 57 minutes till the show starts. So that's coming up very, very quickly. But I think because of that, there's been a lot of announcements coming out the last week or so. And the biggest one is from Newtek. So Newtek makes a Tricaster. And if you're not familiar with the Tricaster, if you do new media now and you do video, you probably have some way of recording your video or switching your video, like using either a Wirecast. If you're going to hardware solution, using like a Blackmagic ATEM or something similar to that. But Newtek is a hardware-based solution, but it runs a Windows embedded operating system, and the software is all on Windows, and it has all the stuff in the one box. So the one box takes your video inputs. It can do all your lower thirds. It can do your videos. It can record. It can stream. It can do everything that you need to do a production, all in one box. So they've come out with new models now. Their high-end model, the 8000, hasn't changed, so that one didn't change at all. But the 850 they had is now an 860, and the 8 is for 8 inputs. And it's an 8ME, so what they consider an ME is basically a switch bus. So that one input can be a physical input plus a bunch of virtuals on top of it. So it could be a green screen or whatever, and it's all inside that one input. And they can switch 8 of those inputs. Let's see. And I believe that one actually starts. Here's the kicker for all this, and why I would love to have Tricaster, but the cost to have a Tricaster is very high. The 860 8 input one is about $25,000. And that doesn't include the control surface, I don't think, for that price. It may, but I don't think it does. And the control surface is like $9,000. So you can kind of get an idea of the cost and why the typical new media broadcaster that runs out of their home or their office probably doesn't have one of these. However, that is 8 inputs. Most people don't need 8 inputs. I run 6 inputs, and I sometimes run out and try to figure out how I'm going to do a 7th input. And actually, the way I've been doing the 7th input is, since I now record on Wirecast, I use the computer input using Desktop Presenter in the Wirecast, which is my 7th input. So the actual recording itself is being done in Wirecast. Now, I'm still recording on a DDR as a backup, but I haven't had to go back to it yet. If I did, I'd have to recreate the desktop because I'm not recording that anywhere on the DDR. All right, so that's the Tricaster 860, replaces the 850. And then there's the Tricaster 460, which replaces the 450, and it is a 4 input. That's what the 4 is for. And again, it's 4ME, so those 4 inputs can be a mixture of things. You can have one physical input, a bunch of graphic overlays. You can do a virtual set. However you want to do that, that would be considered, all that combined would be considered one input by combining it. Let's see. And then there's the 410, which I'm not quite sure which one it replaced. I might be the Tricaster 40 replacement, which again is still a 4 input, but I believe it only has, the inputs are not SDI. Oh, it does have SDI. So I'm not quite sure the difference between the 460 and the 410 is without going into greater detail. So maybe they didn't replace the Tricaster 40, because the Tricaster 40's inputs are all analog inputs, not SDI. So they must not have replaced that one. So I'm not quite sure what the 410 replaced, or if it's something new, a new space. But anyways, they announced all this week, and they also announced what they call holographic virtual set. And it's very interesting. I've seen it demonstrated. The Twit Network had the Tricaster guys in, and they demonstrated this feature, and it's very neat. It allows you to basically take a panoramic image of an area and turn it into a virtual set. And while you're in the Tricaster, you can basically pan around and look at all the different stuff, and you can place the different virtual people different places in that set. And as you pan around, they come up and you can see them, you can zoom into them. It basically makes like a 3D world that you can operate using the joystick or whatever the software to move around in that space. So they've done a lot of neat things in the new Tricasters that came out. Lots of new features. They've redesigned the interface. Let me just say the Tricaster can do darn near anything. So it is very expensive, but it is very, very powerful. Now, the one thing that it does that I really like, and it's something that the ATEMs do not do, is it allows you to take multiple different input formats. So you may have one camera that's coming in at 1080i, another one coming in at 720p, and you can still put them into the same virtual or the same output set. It'll adjust everything live, where the ATEM, everything has to match. And if it doesn't match, you won't see it. So it's very flexible in that way as well. So I know people have used the Tricasters and have had problems with them, but I know people that have had them and they run them 24 hours a day and never have any problems with them. So it really is one of those he says, she said type of things. I personally don't have a lot of experience with them, but the little bit that I do have has been very good. It's a very, very powerful machine. And that's been a long time since I've even messed with one. Now I'm sure it's even much, much more powerful. All right, so let's see, what else has happened this week? Well, besides in the tech world, there's a lot of things happening. There's I know Sony announced their new cameras for the attached to cell phones. Very interesting. That may be something for a new media type person as well. And let's see what else has happened this week. I have my news list right here. So like I said, IBC is a lot of things being announced at IBC. People are that's where the announcements actually happened. I was surprised to see that Newtek actually came out ahead like that and put it out there. But let me just give you a quick list here of just some of the exhibitors that are there. All right, so let's go down through the list here. It's a very, very long list. Just the first page alone is all A's. And some people I've never even heard of, but they're like EdTech Digital, Adobe's going to be there, obviously, all their stuff. There's lighting companies, ADB Lighting Technologies is there. Actel is there. AccuWeather is there. Accenture is there, which is a little odd. I didn't know they did video stuff. Very interesting. Then I said in the same Accenture that I think I know. There's 51 Degrees Mobile is there. Let's see. Let's go down to some of the non-A's and see what we get here. We have Artel, Arctech. We're still in the A's and we're on the third page already. So I get people like Associated Press is there because they want you to buy their services. So they are a services company. Astra is there. ATG is there. Atomos is there. ATX Networks, Audible Magic. So I'm still in the A's. There's Audio Technica. As you go down through this list, there's Autodesk, just Avid. You pretty much name the company they're going to be. Let's go to page 14 and see where we are. And page 14, we're in the I's. So we have IBM. I didn't know IBM did media, but I guess they kind of do because they are a company. There is the IEEE Broadcast Technology Society is there advertising and it's an exhibit. Imagine products, Imagineer Systems, IndyCam, Infomirror is there, Infosat, Inmarsat, Intel. So I mean, you can see it's a long list of all kinds of companies that are media type companies. So if you're going to IBC, and I'd like to hear from you and kind of hear what you think about what you saw at IBC. So if you're going to IBC, send me an email and let me know what your thoughts were on the IBC show. Wish I was going myself, but unfortunately this year I'm not going along. All right. So that is the big news for the week. It is the IBC, the Newtek announcement. I'm sure you probably heard Microsoft bought Nokia. So if I know a lot of people who do their shows off of Nokia phones, I don't know what this is going to do for them. So that's something to keep out. Tomorrow is the big Apple announcement, which we've been preparing for because, well, not only do we use a lot of Apple products, but we do report on tech news as well. And tomorrow is the big Apple release date, and we're looking forward to the keynote and what comes out of that tomorrow. Of course, we're pretty sure it's an iPhone and our two new sets of iPhones and all that stuff, but we're hoping maybe we find out more about when the next Macs come out or the next iPads as well. So that's all to be determined here very soon. And I'm also curious when the Mac Pro comes out. I don't know if you've heard about the new Mac Pro. People are calling it a trash can because it is round and very small and reminds you of a trash can. It really does. But the power that's in that thing is pretty darn amazing. People are complaining because you can't add cards to it, but the way Apple has been doing expansion, like even on the my MacBook Pro, my Retina, I have two Thunderbolt displays. I can pretty much do anything with them. Two Thunderbolt ports, and the new ones are on the Mac Pro are 20 gigabits a piece, and there's 6 of them. So you can pretty much expand any way you want. If you wanted a drive array on the outside, you can get a 20 gigabit per second Thunderbolt drive array that's bigger than you're ever going to need. You can do more than one of those. Daisy chain them together or whatever, and they can do, I think, 4K displays. So it's a very, very powerful machine. I'm very looking forward to that, and I'm just hoping the price is within something that I can actually afford at some point, because my Mac Pro that I currently have is now 4 years old, and it's getting a little bit dated. So it would be nice to have a new piece of high-end hardware to do our renderings and everything. So hopefully maybe tomorrow we get some more information on the Mac Pro, although I'm not thinking we're going to. This is probably just going to be an iPhone, iPod event, possibly iPad, but unlikely. So we've been preparing a lot for that this week, and been commenting a lot on things like that as well. So one of the things you're going to notice here is I'm sitting here and I'm watching what's coming back. Is you see how I'm kind of dark tonight? And that's because these monitors that are next to me are still very white and bright. When I get people on them, I brighten up. So that's something to be thoughtful of. And you notice behind me, here's another thing. There are little signs behind me turn off after a period of time. Something else we gotta fix. Like I said, we're still in the middle of fixing things. This always happens. I mean, we're never satisfied with where things are. We're always trying to improve. We have been working on a couple of new shows, and it's taking longer than I had hoped. In fact, I did a little bit of threatening yesterday to the person who said they want to produce the show and make it their show as to the time it's taking them. So hopefully they jump to it, because I threatened to maybe find somebody else to do it, to do the shows. So hopefully we have some updates on some of that coming out as well. As I said, I'm using a new switcher. You can't probably tell that so much from your side because things are still kind of like happening kind of automatically, but it is a physical switcher, big broadcast buttons, green, red lights, and all that that we've designed, and we're still in the process of designing it, adding new features, and this is just the low end one. We're going to do a higher end one as well. This is currently configured to run with an ATEM, but it can also control vMix, Wirecast, and we're working on the Tricaster. Plus, we also have an audio interface to the ATEMs, so we'd be able to actually adjust the audio on the ATEMs, see the audio on the ATEMs meter-wise and everything. Using motorized faders, be able to bounce around and things like that. So that's also in the works, although it's not to the point where I can actually physically put it together. I got it in pieces. Even though this is not in a box, it's just bolted on top. That's why you kind of hear me hitting the buttons. It's a little bit noisy, but this does function very nicely. Much better than the coordinator control, because coordinator control, you can't really tell where your fingers are. There's no feedback as to what buttons is doing what. Did it do what it's supposed to do? There's no tally, things like that. So we also now have a tally interface, although it's not on the camera. I just mentioned that before the show started. I should have taken the LEDs and taped them on top of the camera so I would know which camera to look at, because I do have a bad habit of not looking at the right one. And that's just because even though I see in front of me what's live on the screen, I know this camera right here is live right now, and I'm not that one over there. I just have the habit of not looking at the screen and keeping an eye on the camera. So if I had a little light on top to tell me which camera is live, I'd be able to tell that. So that's the other thing this can do. This has it's a separate box, but it has the ability to do tally out of the ATEM. And it can also, the tally can go to a cloud-based tally, which we're working on, so that you can a remote guest can log into a website and see if they're live or not from that. And also you can have remote tally lights. So you have a physical camera in a remote location, or cameras in a remote location. You could actually take and put lights on those and still control them from wherever you're switching from, anywhere on the internet. So that's actually working pretty neat so far. We pretty much only have used it as a remote guest solution, like logging into the website to see what their tally status is. But it's going to expand from there. First thing is I'm now designing the case and everything for this, and that's something I've never done before. So electrical engineer I can do, mechanical engineer not so much. So it's a whole different thing to try to figure out how to put all the stuff in a box so it looks pretty. So that's the state where we are with the switcher. And hopefully by next week I have it in at least a temporary case, because like I said, the way it is now, I got tons and tons of little wires running into a breadboard. It's in like a bus, so I can run different boards, different directions. And I finally got all the connectors, so I can connect the cables to do this. And I have to get this now, and I have that into a box that's easily carried around and quieter. You can probably hear me hitting the buttons. And that's because I'm sitting on top of a desk with a metal plate with these boards screwed on top of the board, and the buttons are naked, not covered up or anything. So you're hearing me as I hit the button. You hear that happen. So the next few weeks, hopefully we get that done. So a few more things here in the studio to do, and we're getting very, very close. You'll notice behind me, like I said, the screens, we've moved them around a little bit. We put some lights behind. You see lights above, all RGB color selectable, so we can put pretty much any color we want behind us. And the monitors back there, we moved them down because they were a little too high. When we originally did it, we were all doing a lot of shows that were very wide angle, and they were the right height. But a lot of shows we do now are 1 or 2 people, and we're tighter in on them, so we had to lower the monitors to keep them in the shot. So we made those changes, a few electrical changes around. We have one more camera to lower. That camera over there, which is this camera, is actually still a little bit too high. We have everything to do it. We just haven't had the time. That's on our list. The pole's sitting right there to put up, and you see it shooting down at me instead of more at me from this angle. So it's like a foot difference in camera height. And we moved our overhead camera a little bit. We also did some things like, if you look at the overhead camera, you can't really tell, but right here, the white is the white right here. And that's just so that we know that we're in a camera shot, because I have the bad habit of pulling things off to the edge and not knowing I was out of the shot. So now this piece of tape, which you can barely see the edge of it. I thought I had it out of the frame, but I guess I don't. You can see a little bit at the top right there too. That tells me that I'm in video frame. So we're doing some things to try to improve our shots as well. Just little things. Gaff tape goes a long way for that kind of stuff. So, all right. So this week's gonna be another very quick one. Like I said, there was some news. If you want an IBC, let me know. I'd love to know what you thought of IBC, what you saw that you liked. And as news comes out of IBC, when typically IBC starts, there's a lot of press releases. So next week we should probably have a lot more announcements out of IBC as well. I believe Atomos made some announcements, but I don't think I have all the details of what the announcements were. And I think that's going to be all announced at the IBC conference. So hopefully next week I have a long list of news and announcements out of the IBC conference. And I may even have the last couple pieces of the studio done, and then I'm going to do another studio tour and show you guys some of the changes that we've made. The other thing that I don't know where the remote's at for, but I also have a pan-tilt head camera, which is the one I'm looking at, so I can pretty much sit here and make adjustments. Now the switcher that I'm building has the ability to control that, so I don't have it sitting here with me, so I can't really show you. And I believe that right now it's running off batteries. I don't think the batteries died because I've got to turn it off. But we'll be able to control pan-tilt head. Now I'm going to get 2 more, one for each of the other cameras on the side, so that all this moving around that we do with adjusting cameras can be done from sitting either here or in front of the other control surface that's out in front of the actual switcher itself. And the internal media player, you can't tell because it's empty. All right, so that's it for this week's New Media Tech. Come back next week. If you're going to IBC, let me know what you thought, and hopefully next week I have a lot more news out of IBC for you. We'll see y'all next week. For show notes for this show, contacts, and more, go to the techzen.tv website, where you can get show notes for all of our shows. We love to hear from our viewers and listeners. We have an email, a Twitter, and a phone number where you can contact us for each show. For details, visit the techzen.tv website and get the show details. You can also make a video and upload it somewhere like YouTube or Vimeo, and then just send us a link. You never know, you may see your video in a future show. You can get all of our shows delivered automatically to your favorite device by going to your favorite podcast website like iTunes and subscribing. Each of our shows also has a YouTube channel you can subscribe to get regular updates. Our shows are also available on most internet radio networks like Stitcher and TuneIn Radio. You can also watch and listen to our shows on Xbox, TiVo, and Roku. You can even find us on your Zune.